Hi, just dropping in again tonight. I want to share with you all that I had the most amazing day today with a big group of women, again in Sacred Circle, women of all ages, all experiences of life, stories about raising children, how it is to be a young woman in this world today with relationships and managing kids and managing work and all the things that are really posing big stresses for our young people. And that's on the back of me reading that, out of 59,000 women who birthed last year in New Zealand, 11,000 were reported as being depressed. And the services are not there to cover the well-being of these women unless they're in utter dire straits. So we know that the dire straits area for women in mental health issues leads to suicide. And, it almost seems to me that women are getting close to that peak before there's even a service available for them. And I really, truly believe that a massive part of this is the shift that we had probably a few centuries ago, but it's so catching up on us now as our world is just evolving into a less easy place to live. And I'm not saying it was easy in the 50s or the 40s or the 30s, but there's something about the cost of living and something about the expectation and pressure on people that's really starting to spin our young people out. And I can compare it back to when I had my kids, and I know that we were not, as a group of women, experiencing the same degree of stress and sadness and talk of trauma just wasn't really being spoken about by women that I knew birthing in those days. And so there were stressful births, and there would have been births that people would consider traumatic, but by the same token it's not to the same degree that we're seeing now. So what I'm saying is we're in a critical place, and it's not being addressed by our government. It is not being addressed by our medical obstetric system. If anything, it's being exacerbated by that, because the more interventions we do to people, the more we corner you in a room and do things to you under the restraints of machinery and medications, etc., where you can't get away when the stress is coming at you, the more trauma there's going to be there. And so what I want to do, what I am really promoting with Wild Birth Wisdom, is that we start to address what does this all look like, ideally even before you consider getting pregnant, not fully at that stage, but giving some indication about what the journey can be and how there could be some things put in place that might actually strengthen your system. And I mean the system as in the big network around you as much as you as a human being. So physically keeping you well, emotionally and mentally preparing you in a way that you kind of go, yeah, I've got to navigate this, and this is probably how I could do it best in a way that's going to give me some strength. And then at the spiritual realm, because no matter what, if you talk to a new mum who's had a baby recently, and even new dads, they will say to you, I was not prepared for this. This is throwing me off the edge. And it's not just mental and emotional. It is the big shift that goes on in our being when we become a parent and what that means to us. So, this is what Wild Birth Wisdom is about. It is about saying there are things that we can be doing, ways that we can be starting to look into what's coming, what are we looking at with birth in 2023, what can we do to make our lives slower at a pace that we can say, I can actually manage this without overstressing myself. Because it's the overstress that leads to the overwhelm. It leads to us feeling traumatized because we've got no space. And that's what it comes down to, a lot of it, as well as self-care in every form. It's really necessary to have space to rest, to recover, to reflect, to re-nourish, to replenish. It's all the everything. We are reclaiming birth the way that it should be. So I invite you to join me. Wild Birth Wisdom is having a 1-hour gathering on June the 18th between 7 and 8 p.m. And it's a talk about the journey between the moment of considering a pregnancy and preconception right to the end of postpartum. So obviously it's an overview, but it'll give you some good ignition of thought. And from there you can see where your curiosity takes you. See you there. Oh, and the link is in my bio. Thanks.